Hello. Hi, so I hope we are live now. Yeah. So welcome to day 2 of learning game development with JavaScript. So yesterday we actually went through the basics of everything, like basics of learning what JavaScript actually is and why should we use it to for all these things for building games and whatever. So today we will actually dive deep into learning JavaScript. If you have already installed VS Code, you can install. It's fine, and if you have not, you can also use other editors. But you could have install you can install VS Code, and from this particular link, you can go on Google and write it down, and we can start. Give me a minute. So the first game we will be building together is the memory game. So what is this memory game actually? We will be wait. Let me show you. Basically, what we will do, we will have for example, we will have a few cards, and within them there are two cards. There will be two cards present in my screen. Actually, I can say that there can be around 10 cards present on my screen, and each there will be duplicates. And if we and they will be hidden. And once I click on one card, and the next card that I click should be the same card that I clicked before. So I have five. I have two cards, each of type. For example, there is a cheeseburger. Let me show you the images that I will be using. So these are few of the images. There will be this image, all this. So all these cards will be hidden, and there will be each of these cards will have a duplicate. When I click on one of the cards, that card will get flipped over to me, and the next other card that I click, it should also be the same card that I clicked before. If they both are same, then it's fine, and we will get a point. And if it's not the same, basically I clicked on one of them, and this it flipped and showed this, and the next card that I clicked on was maybe this one. Then they would again flip back to the earlier place. So basically, this is the idea that we will keep on clicking, and we will try to remember where this image actually was. Because once we click on one of the images, and the next time we click on another one, if they don't match, they will again flip back. But then I will remember which part had the hot dog and which part had the cheeseburger. So next time I click on another place and I get a hot dog, I will go to the earlier one where I know that hot dog is present, and I will click on that, and we will get our correct one. Then we will get our score, and those two tiles will get vanished, and the game will be over once all the cards are successfully removed from our cluster. So this is the basic idea of what we are going to do with the memory game, and we'll see how we will approach this. So first of all, if you are using Windows or Linux or Mac OS, anything, every place has its. Basically, first of all, this source code, I will first write it down, basically because I don't have it here in my laptop. What I will do is I will write down my entire code here. I will keep writing, and at the end of the session, I will provide you with how much we have done. So that's why it will be better, because when I'm explaining something, it will be side by side. When I will complete it, and then I will provide it to you completely. And I will provide you the GitHub link. Okay, so we will actually start working right from the terminal. So I will tell you a few terminal commands as well, in case you are not very familiar with them. So what will I do? I will first of all create. If you guys don't have GitHub, if you don't have GitHub, then please create one GitHub account. Today, what will I do? I will actually create whatever source code I add today. I will push it to GitHub, and that way I will provide you the link, and you can clone that repository and use it and see the code yourself directly. without having to write all the lines that I am writing right now. So I will start directly from the terminal and show you a few command line tools as well. So basically what I will do, first of all, I will, since this is my game, and what do I need to do? I need to create a directory first. So what are actually directories? Directories are kind of, I can say, folders. So the my folder name, what will it be? I can name it as memory game, since it's going to be a memory game. So to do that, first of all, if you look here, these are few of my files present here. On Linux this and Mac OS they look like this, and while in Windows it will be C drive, D drive, and everything. So when you are on some directory, when you're opening it, normally you're at the root, and for Windows it is the whatever drive it is, I think the C drive. And in here there is this root is something that means it is the base basically this place. It will open up to this place, and this actually the root. And within this I actually have a dev folder, and I put all my codes, whatever development I do, I put it there. So in case you don't have a dev folder, you can create one dev folder at any of the directories you want. So to create a directory, we have to write mkdir, which is the full form for, this is the short form for make directory. And after that you will write down the name of your directory. So first of all, what I will do, I will go to my dev directory. So I will write cd. Cd is the short form for change directory, and then I will write down dev. In here, I will create a directory mkdir, and if here actually I will be this is one of the games. I will also be creating some other games. So first of all, I will creating one folder named JS Games ISB, and that way I have a folder now named JS Games ISB. So I will go into that, and to go into it, you don't need to entirely write it. Write a few words, few letters, and then press tab. I clicked on tab, and I got the directory that was created right now. So I move into JS Games ISB, and again in here, like we had that parent-child concept yesterday in JavaScript, right? When I was showing divs and all, this parent-child concept is present everywhere. So that means this whatever my root was, this root was my parent, and then there I had dev. Under that I create another directory which is JSGames ISB. So JSGames ISB is actually a child of dev, and now within this I'll create another directory which will be my game. So in this directory actually I will keep all my three games, and let me create the first one, which is mkdir. What should I name it? Memory game. Memory. So I've also created a memory game here. And I will move into this. And from here now what will I do? I will open my VS Code. See, you can do a few things like any editor, right? So I can open it in two ways. We will in on macOS we will go to Finder, open this place, and you will see there is something called JS Games ISBC, and I have this memory game. However, this folder is empty. So what you can do, you can open this folder. Actually, I will open this folder only in with the on VS Code. So you can do a few things. You can go there and open. You can click on open with and open with VS Code. Other than that, you can directly open VS Code. I'll close it. You can directly click on VS Code or any other editor, whatever you want. This thing. And what I will do here is I will directly click on code dot. I will click write this down code dot. What does this actually do? Code dot. Code dot actually opens my VS Code to this particular folder, memory game. So I am in the memory game folder here. Here, as we saw the other day, and I told you basically I need to first create my backbone. So that means there will always be an index.html file. And if you guys remember, index.html is used for providing the backbone. First, and there is this style.css, my CSS file for designing And finally, a script.js, which is for providing the dynamicity to my code. So JavaScript will be used for interaction. So let me get back to first the HTML part. So how will my basically HTML will be used for arranging my entire code, entire data here. So how will my page actually look like? So what do I want actually? I need to have a empty space here, and over that I will have a title. For example, this name of the tab should be memory game, and after that within that I can have the heading as memory game, and then I will have a score that will save my score, and finally a grid type of thing. Basically, there will be a table thing, so rows and columns, and there will be a few images of that. So I need to first, how will my HTML then look like? So as expected, when I click on this is one of the shortcuts. I think I told this earlier. So if you click on if you click on exclamation sign and press enter in HTML file, it provides you with a certain bare minimum HTML structure. So you don't need to write doc type HTML and all these things so much. So I will put only this meta cursor part. And in the title, I hope you know this now that it will be memory game. So when I write this one, basically it should open up here and memory game should be present. The name should be written here. And right now I haven't opened this thing, so I can open this in two ways. One of the ways is I will go to this place, go to dev JSON ISV memory game, and if I click on index.html on opening this, see this is just a white space, but the title here, the title has changed to memory game. It is a white space because nothing is present inside my body. However, there is a problem in this because when I do something like if I click on write div is a container and memory. Okay. If I go to my page, see the memory didn't come here. The whatever I wrote, that div, I wrote it inside the body, right? So it should have come here. If I click on refresh now and then now it's coming. So as you can see this thing, whenever I'm changing something, it needs to be refreshed. And this is the problem because every now and then I need to come and refresh this place and start doing it all over again. So to overcome this, that's why on VS Code, there's an extension. You go to this extension place and search for something I have already installed. So if it is not there, you will write down live server. If you write that down and open this and take the first one, it is the most famous one by Ritvik Day. And here you will install. Once is uninstall, I need to uninstall it first. So I will click on install. And once you click on it, this thing is installed. And what you can do with this, after this, you will see. Let me show you. Here, if I click on this, double right click, you see there is something written here, open with live server. So let me open it with the live server. What's the difference between this and this? The thing is, very simple. Uh, now that as I told that reloading thing had to be done, but this time I don't need to reload anything. I'm writing anything here and see it got reloaded on its own. I didn't have to refresh. So this is my what I can say advantage of using a live server. Okay. So enough with the basics. Now let's get into the game. What we have here, let's think about it. My body, basically my body is this entire white space. But I didn't say it. Okay, my body is my entire white space. So first of all, I will have something here called memory game. So what will I do? Uh, I can also not write this heading down because it's already written here. Yet I will still add something here, and I can have it in an H1 tab. h1 tag and memory again. Okay. After this, what will I have? I am supposed to have a few cards here, right? So as I told you that there will be images and those images will be actually flipped. So that means it's not like the I will be get able to see those images at first. It should be flipped and hidden. It should first be hidden, and after clicking on it, I should be able to see it. So that means I can for showing those images, I won't write them down directly here. So let me I have put used an images array here. I have a folder with a few images that I will be needing here. So this will be provided in that GitHub link. You can download it as well. So I am just putting it in my place. Add folder to workspace. So I have taken an images of that is this inside memory gem. No, it's not inside memory gem. So I need to put it inside memory gem. So just a minute. So that didn't work out in some way. So instead, I'm just simply copying this thing, entire thing. This is fine. So this way I have the images as well. So you can see these are a few images and these will be flipped actually from before. So what's my idea here? I need to see these are blank image and these are white image. You will get to understand its significance later when we start using it. And basically the cards that will be present are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So in total I will have 6 into 2, 12 cards. Do you understand the point of this? Because each of the cards should be duplicated, because what we are supposed to do, we will click on this card and another card. When we click on it, they should both be same, right? Only then will I get a point. So that means there will be duplicates of each card. That means I have taken 6 cards here. We can take as many as we want, and just taken 6 here. So that means in my grid, basically I will create a table like structure here, and there will be 6 images, one below the other, or whatever way you want. You can have 4. That all depends on how you're trying to lay out your things. So for that, first of all, I will have something. I will add a grid here. So first of all, I will have a div, and it will have a class. So there's a short form way of writing. If you're going to take a div or any element, and you're going to add a selector to it. By selector, what do I mean? That whatever I told yesterday about classes and IDs. So because I told you that these classes and IDs will also be present here. One of the elements will have class. One of them has IDs for uniqueness. So for that way, we will be writing. If I'm supposed to have a div with a class, I will write dot class, and it will come by this name. When I do dot class, so that means this name got added. So if I write dot grid, so it will class equal to grid, and if I use an hashtag here, use a hashtag, and it changes to ID by itself. This is a short form way of writing. I will just have a class here. And along with this, basically in this place, this is the container, and in this all those 12 cards should be present. But right now I'm not adding those cards using the image tag. There's a reason for that, because I don't want to create it right now, because I'm supposed to add different functionalities to it as well. So instead I could have put this here as well, but instead I will try to put that dynamically. So instead of putting the image tags as static, instead I will put them dynamically, and that way we can also learn another way of writing elements in JS dynamically, and that will be a better thing to understand as well, because we already know about the static part. So this will be my div that will contain the images, and finally I will have a scored place that will show my score. Like once we have selected both of them equally correctly, then my score will increase. So what will I have? I can have a, what can I have? A H3 tag. It saves the score. And to this code, basically this place, the score, whatever it is, if you think of it in some way, uh, will I get the score stat? Can I write this code as something as 1, 2, 3, anything here? Basically, the score is supposed to be dynamic, because once I select the correct thing, only then my score should get updated. That means this is dynamically changing. What do I mean by static and dynamic? Static is something that never changes, like this title here, all this heading here. This will never change because I have not made changes to it right now, unless I do something later. But things that are dynamic, like the code is supposed to be dynamic because it is supposed to change later. So that way, this code thing is supposed to be dynamic, and that's why we will have another thing here. This code, I will save it in a span, and dot id, no, hashtag. It should have an hashtag of result. So in this span, I will add the data. And in case I don't know if you guys remember, so I will show the JavaScript part for it right now. Basically, right now I have my entire HTML structure already created, and now to this I need to what are the things that I need to do? First, we will add a script. This script is supposed to, I could have written it directly here, but I will not do that, because I need, as I told you, we are supposed to, if there is an advantage to having the script in a different file, and the advantages were listed here. I think advantage of external JavaScript file, they are listed here. So this script.js is supposed to be my script file. Then I will write down the correct path for it. As I told you, there is this relative thing here. So script.js, it has come directly. And I didn't show this thing earlier yesterday, so I will show it now. For CSS, like we did the HTML and JS, but we never did any CSS thing. So even for CSS, you can also write it directly in this file, or you can have a separate file. For writing something in this file, what we will do, we'll use the style tag, and within the style tag, we will write down. For example, I will try to change the color of H1 tag. So I will write H1, use basis, and write background color, background color. Let me provide it a class. Heading. Oh, something's wrong here. Let me again go live. Better. Well, these are few of the changes. So what did I do here? See, there are two ways of writing this. I showed you both the ways. Basically, I have an h1 tag, okay, and I provide in this style thing. This is a way of writing CSS. In h1, I do within for writing the CSS what using tags. So in this, when I have written h1 and used braces and used a property of color, so I've changed the color to red. What is the problem with this h1 is when I used h1 directly, that means whenever I have another h1, as I told you, there can be multiple tags of the same element. So if I write another h1 with abcd, very simple, that will also come with the color of red. So I might think that I will only want the heading to be of a particular color and not this one. But when we wrote h1, that meant that all of the h1 gets the color red. So that is why I should rather use something called class or the ID, that selector thing. Selectors are unique and we can provide the same class. We can, but we normally don't. But we can also provide the same class to multiple h1s, or we will not provide it to present to save the uniqueness thing. So instead, if I write here dot heading, that way, what will happen? For class, I have to write dot here. If I had used an ID here, I would have to write hashtag heading, the same way as we did before. So in this place, what will happen? Only this will have the color of red. So this is one of the ways of writing CSS. And we can write, basically, I will not use this class equal to heading thing here because I only have one h1. If I have other needs for adding more h1 tags, at the time we will add the class thing. And this is a, whenever I've written this is known as the writing CSS in internally. But normally when we are separating the JavaScript file as well, it's necessary that we can also separate the CSS part as well. So instead, I will use this style.css file. What will I do? I will see this thing is not needed right now. Let me rather provide a color to it directly. H1 color of it. But this thing should be inside the CSS file. So I will put it inside the CSS file. But the problem here is it didn't work, and the correct reason for this is obviously because it is not linked. So that means like the JS file, we'll also have to link our CSS file as well. So how will I link a CSS file? I have to use the link tag. So link tag and self close. Fine. Now to let link tag know that first of all I need to add the path. To get the path of that file, I have to use href. In this place, it's the href, not script.js. So href, and I will add style.css. And also I need to let link know that this is a style CSS thing. So we are adding styling. So it will have a rel, this will be a relation of style shape. Because CSS, its full form, if you guys are not familiar with it, the full form is cascading style sheets. Yes, we will come to this classical to grid thing. Basically, in this grid thing, we will be adding the cards. This H1 part, right now you can see only the memory gem is there and the code is here. So that means within this place, the cards, I'm just writing that down now, cards are present. Cards will be present in this place and it will be bigger. Basically, how much data we put it here, it will take that entire height. So we will get to this working of the card thing, working of this card. Like why we'll be using this grid thing. So first of all, basically I will be using this dynamically. I will be adding the images here dynamically. I could have added those images. Basically those images will be here. These defined images, they will be present in this class, inside this div, inside this container, but they will also be hidden because so that it shouldn't be uh, available to the user at first. On clicking only, it should be available. So let us get into this first. We have linked our script.js file. We have linked our style.css file as well. Now, what will I do? First of all, I will go to the script.js file. Basically, my first work here will be to dynamically create the cards here, to put the card images here. So for that, I will go to the script.js file. Here, I think before starting all this one, if you guys remember this thing, I did this thing, document.add event listener, and then I used DOM content loaded. If you guys remember this thing. So why did we use this? We use this because I want that first my HTML should completely come in. Why do I want this? Basically, I will be accessing this node, this DOM tree with the that DOM node with the class grid, and I will adding elements to it dynamically. Like I will use JavaScript to add those images to it. So in case my DOM has not loaded, when I try to first basically I need to add some children to this, right? So first I need to access this node. Now if my DOM has not completely loaded, when I try to access my DOM with this thing, then it will throw an error. That's why I will add an event listener DOM content loaded. What happens when the entire DOM tree is loaded? Only after that my working will start. I won't start my working before that. So that's why I'm putting it here. Now what will I have here? Basically, I am supposed to access my, let me put it in the same pen so that it becomes easier. What will I do? I will access the node, this grid. So for accessing, if you guys remember, I used query selector yesterday, or get element by ID, query selector. What were those things? We will again revise it today if it's difficult to remember right now. So let me write. First, I will access the grid node. So to get access to the grid node, I will use a file for this variable. I will create a variable named grid, and I am using const here because. So let me tell you about this difference between const and. Wait, let me put it here. Let me tell you this difference between const and let, because yesterday we were talking about let and we use let to create the variables. But then why will I use const? So I will show it directly in the JavaScript console here. See, basically in this place there is the console, and here we can actually run JavaScript as well. Like we were using the node to write a file and then using node to call the JavaScript. Instead, we can write it directly here as well. So what will I do here? I will write some JavaScript code here, and that JavaScript code will be executed because my browser has access to the JavaScript engine, and that JavaScript engine is the one that parses through our JavaScript files. So I was going to tell you the difference between let and const. So let was what? Let is something that, let me have age 25. So my age has a value of 25. It has a type of number. Okay. Now, if I actually reassign this value, like at times, it like using age is not the right thing. For example, age equal to 25. Now my age is supposed to be 21. Okay. So for doing that, I'm not writing let age equal to again, because I'm just changing the value of this previous variable. So I'm writing age equal to 21. Now the value of age is 21 now. And obviously the type of age will be number. And if I wanted to change it to a string, I could do that as well. ABCD. And if I check type of age, now it was a string. Now all these things, this is why am I saying all this? Because I want to tell you what this const is. At times in our entire code, we might come through some variables that I don't want to change later. For example, I have a particular, what can I say? For example, you're using Facebook, right? All of you guys have used Facebook, but you will remember that every user has his own ID, because you're supposed to be unique. You can't use the same email ID for creating another Facebook account like that. So there is supposed to be a uniqueness in that. So that means that unique thing, that ID thing, that helps us to keep things unique and keep things separate. And in this place, this ID, if someone again change for this ID is also a variable, right? And some value is assigned to it. Now think of it this way: like for age, I was just reassigning a value. I could reassign that value, but at times I can also change the value of ID as well. For example, someone has written a code, and in that he has changed the name of ID, changed the value of ID. So that is wrong. So to prevent that, there are certain places where I don't want to change the value of a variable, whatever happens. So to prevent the changing, at that time we use const. So if I use that same thing for const age equal to 25, okay, but I couldn't use this because age was already used here. See, because it will give a error of identified age has already been declared. So that means some that same variable, when I'm using const, basically I can't use age. I need to use some other name. If late age wasn't present, I could have used it. But will const user ID and let it be a string E G H A D 2 3. Okay, a random string. Now think someone is trying to change user ID's value to this. See, this is an error. It is giving uncaught type error and assignment to. Okay, I will zoom it more. Is this fine? Okay. Now this assignment, what is giving? It is giving an error of uncaught type error assignment to constant variable. So that means when someone is trying to change the value of user ID now, he can't change it. So that is where const is used. Const is the short form for constant, and whenever we define a variable with the keyword of const, at that time we can't reassign that variable, and that is what I will be doing here as well. Normally, whenever you are using a variable and you know that the value of that thing will never change, always use const. So I'm actually adding the basics of JavaScript together here as well, because if I didn't actually get into creating games, you would think that I'm just going on with the JavaScript as well at all times. So instead, I started with the games, and at times, whenever we will require some need of JavaScript, I will let you know the concepts as well together with that. So here, what will I do? In this, I will first access this node. I will try to get a hold of this node, and to get the hold of some node, what we knew that we have read about DOM, document object model. What did document object model do? It actually, if you look at that image, uh, there is an HTML thing, and I had one in my presentation, this thing. In my presentation, I had this. So in this document, I had this HTML and the head and the body. So this was the entire DOM tree, like how it looked. So since this one is also an HTML, so DOM is always made with the HTML. And to that, this whenever we use script and link, the JS and CSS also gets linked. That's the thing. And now if we will first access this div that has a class of grid. So I will first try to access this grid using document dot. What was it that we used to access a particular node? We use query selector. The query selector is uh, one of the functions that comes with this document itself. Basically, document is a document object model. It comes with a predefined method as well as query selector. And within this, we will first take an access of the node, that is grid. So I will write dot grid. I think it will look much better if I do one more thing. I'm just showing another basic of this. For example, I have a button. Okay, button. It has a name of click, and after this, basically, what will I try to do? We will do a simple add event listener thing where I will actually show the word clicking event. I actually told you guys to try this out yesterday. So basically, I will first show this thing that I will first have a button that has the name of click. So on clicking this button, I will actually change the color. I can do one thing. I can change the entire background of my body display. I'll change the entire background. And to do this, what will I do? I have button click now. Now I need to access this button. So the best way of access, remember, whenever we are supposed to access a DOM node and add a function to it, always have some selector written to it. So I'll have a selector and class, which will have a class. What class can I give? Button. Let me keep it button because there is only one button. For specificity, later you should use the correct names. Like you can have click button or change color button. In here, what will I do? I'm first using the button. For I will first access the button, right? So I will write document dot again query selector, and I have used a class. Let's use an ID here. ID. So for ID, what will I write? I will write hashtag, and I will do button. Now what will I do? To this button, I will add a click event. Basically, on clicking this, I am supposed to do something, right? So first, I will add a click event to it. To add a click event, what can I do? There are two ways of doing this. One thing, I will add button dot to add a, as I told to add an event. We will always use add event listener. Add event listener dot. Now in this, I will let click. So what will it do? It in this button dot add event listener, click, and then we will have a we'll have add a function to this now. Basically, on clicking of this button, we'll have a function. Okay, Utpal, our technical team will look into this and get back to you with an answer regarding your issue. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay, on the click event, clicking of a button, what will I do? I will call a function because as you saw in this place also is on clicking on DOM content loaded, this function was being called. So here also I will add click button. On clicking of this, a particular function, basically whatever I'm writing here will be called. Now for better reading ability, see at the end of the day, everything is about readability. My code will always get bigger. So readability is very important in this. So the best thing to do here is instead of writing the function directly there, I will write the function name here. Basically, what will I do? Uh, Button click. So I will have a button click. So instead of writing the function here, I will write a function beforehand. Function button click. So this is a way of writing functions. And in case you are not familiar with functions are actually methods that actually return some data, some value. So what I am actually doing, why is the name function? Because I am trying to achieve something on clicking this. Okay. So to write a function, this is the way of writing it in JavaScript. This function keyword, this is a keyword. And after this keyword, we will write whatever name we want. And after that, it is followed by a parenthesis and then brackets. In this parenthesis, normally we can also pass arguments. So in here, what do I want? I want to do one thing. Let me write it down. Let me see if it first and then I will let you know. It is saying cannot read properties of null reading add event listener. Okay, I forgot to save this first. Anyway, this is one of the things. Sorry, I actually forgot to save this. Basically, I didn't save this file, and that's why when I was trying to basically I wrote button ID, and when I was trying to access it here, since I didn't save this file, it was saying that there is nothing called button. So how am I calling an add event listener, like the one that happened yesterday as well? So this is a very vague thing because I had to show you the functionality first, and that is how we will do stuff. So that's why I showed one of the ways. And in this, what did I actually do? I took the access of button. I then added a listener. I added a listener to it, and then I on click I actually called a function. Within that function, what happens? Actually, so what you can say here also, I'm changing the color. So what do you think? What I'm actually changing? This a change in the HTML, JS, or the CSS? Because I'm changing the style of something, it is actually the CSS thing. I'm actually changing the CSS dynamically. So here also you can, as I told you, the in HTML I could write the HTML images directly here, but instead I will be writing that in JavaScript dynamically. Similarly, CSS can be written static and also as dynamic as well. So in this case, I just showed another way of writing CSS dynamically. So remember all these things because these can be important because we can ask that how can you write a style dynamically. What did I actually do here? In this, I access document, and what is this body thing? Body is actually this tag, this body tag, and on this, when I'm supposed to add some styling to it, what will I write? Dot style dot background color red. Give me a minute. I need to put my laptop on charge. Okay, so where were we? Yes, on this, so basically everything is kind of an object, and let me give if you guys want this, I will give you a brief introduction of how the objects are also written. So when we are writing something like document dot body, what is this dot thing? So this dot is actually used for objects. So an object actually looks like this. If I am supposed to have an object, what are actually objects? Objects are real world, you can call them as real world entities. When we actually use these objects, at times I might think that a variable, say a variable is something like, what is this? Let username. Okay, username of your someone is Sanjay 1234. Okay, now you can think of this. I might think that the user. I might think that this user actually, he has a lot of details, like not just the name. He can have when he opened this account and how many friends he has and all these things. So at that time, how can I put all those things inside a single variable? So if I were to do something like, then what's his age? That will be in another variable. After that, friends count is what 1000. So all these are in separate variables. So this is a problem here, because on this of the, instead of like, if I were supposed to get all the data, I would have to access all this differently, and they would take a lot of space. So instead of that, I will put all these things inside one single variable. And to put very different types of data in a single variable, in those situations we normally use objects. So instead of all this, what will I have? I will have a object named user details, okay, and equal to, and then I will write second braces, and I will have the username, which will be, and here instead of writing equal to, I will give colons. So remember, what whenever I write an object, the name is okay, and whatever the data that we put inside, they are all known as attributes. So this is an attribute. So one attribute would be this, and they need to be separated by commas. Now one attribute would be this, and similarly the other one. And why did I say this? Because I am trying to show why I wrote document.body.style. What is this dot thing? So whenever we are now supposed to access this edge, I will simply write, I will just log it to the console. I'll write user details dot edge. Just this. So lighting this, what I have access to edge. If I write user details only, I will have access to the entire object. Console, if I go to console, you see the entire object, I have access to this thing. But when I'm writing user details, I'm putting both of them side by side, dot username. At that time, I also have the access to the entire object, and also just Sanjay 1234. Let me remove this for better understanding. Sanjay 1234. Yes, by using let, first thing is, by using let, we are creating any variable. Using let and const, we are normally using variables, and this object will also have some name, so it is also a variable, and within that object some other data is present. So for creating, first of all, this is a variable, right? This is a variable, and the type of this variable is object. Like this is a variable, and the type of this object is string. This is a variable, and the type of this object is number. Sorry, what did I say? And the type of this variable is number. Similarly, these are variable, and the type of this variable is object. So using let, yes, we are creating an object. Using let, we can create any variable. And within that variable, within that object thing, when we're writing let user details equal to, after that, whatever properties we write, we don't need to write let anymore, because that's not needed. We will directly write the whatever name is needed. And the thing is, here when we are trying to, we will try to access this username. We need to write user details dot username. We can't directly write username, because if I try to write that, it will not be able to find it, and it will throw an error. Well, you can say does work as a dictionary in Python. In dictionaries, what happens in Python, we have those what we'll say, those array kind of things, and in that we have different data. If when we will get into arrays, you might think that if that it has more similarity to the arrays thing. So that's in Python. So this JavaScript, basically JavaScript follows more of a Java pattern and other C++ and all those languages patterns. Python has a completely separate set of those dictionaries, lists, and everything. They are more exclusive to Python itself. They are not very similar to using in. They are not very similar to the other languages. So this one actually follows more of a Java kind of pattern. See, whenever I wrote username, it is saying username is not defined. Reference error. Reference error means this reference is not present. Is this a well, class is something different. Class is yes, it is kind of that. Basically, what do you understand by class? Class is something, or like structure. You can say it is more of a structure thing in C. Basically, in structure, what did we write? We wrote the structure and we wrote some variable name and we use braces and put some methods inside it, like some functions and all those and all data types. It is more of a structure kind of thing. It is not similar to class, because in class, after writing a class, we will also add other functions and other ways of writing as well. And if you guys have heard about this, an object is actually an instance of a class. So to access some data of a class, we have to create an object and then access it. That is too much deep into getting the basics of JavaScript, and that way we'll actually move away from creating the game at all. In this situation, we are not actually using classes. We don't need classes here, because we are not following a class pattern. We are following a functional oriented programming kind of pattern. So this is a functional programming way. So we are not using classes here. So normally, if you are going to talk about what are objects, we will say that objects are used to to take separate kinds of data and put them inside a single variable. Basically, the purpose of using an object to, when we'll have say different types of data, and we want to put them in one single variable, we have to take an object. Because this thing, I can also add a function as well. So what were this button click thing, right? So I could have written button click, I won't say button fn, I'm giving button function, and I could have written button click. So basically now button within button function, this click thing is also present. So I to call this button, when we write user details dot button function, it will call this function as well. I will show this as well. If I write user details dot button function, so username is dot define not given, and give this. See what happened? It is I didn't even click on this button, but it's completely turned to red. It completely changed to red, the entire background. Why it happened? Because I have this button click function already, right? And when my DOM content is loaded, where it first goes through this line, now after that then button, and it doesn't actually execute this function at first. This is first declaration of the function. But when I'm calling it down under, I've added this button click function to button function, and I've written user details at button function. Basically, in here I actually directly call this function. So when I'm calling this function, that means it will enter this place, and on entering this, that's why I'm getting this error. I won't call this an error. Why did I say error? It's not an error. Basically, I'm calling this function directly. So if I remove this thing here, it will again get back to normal. So this was all about understanding why objects are used. And why I was saying this, to show this thing. If I show you, let me see if I am able to show this on the console document. Button click is getting the entire document. And then dot 40. And then document dot 40 dot style. Look at this. And also try to diminish the earlier one where told yesterday that a document that DOM is an object, because I told document object model, and I told this thing as well, that the DOM is actually an object. Is it written here? It's written in the name directly that document object model. Basically, it's an object. So that means that is why when we are trying to when I wrote document, look at the console logs. When I first wrote document, what did it return? The first one. What is this? When I open it, it is actually my entire HTML structure. Okay. And to access some, basically what will I do? I'm trying to enter this body thing. I'm trying to, in HTML, I'm trying to enter this body and provide it a particular style. So to do that, I am again showing what is document.body now. When I click on document.body, what does it come? Give the body part. So only the body part is present. And what I'm so trying to do, see here it is given dot style, because style background color is written here because I clicked on that and it came. Rather, I will put this outside. Document.body. On body, it has a lot of properties here. So these are the various properties that are present. And these might seem a little overwhelming. So what these are few of the attributes. So I am trying to access document which is the entire thing. Now within body, when I'm doing writing console logging document.body, in body these are all the different properties. So why are these properties present? Because as I told, every HTML element should have some way of adding some JavaScript to it as well, right? Because I need to add some JavaScript, I need to add this inner HTML that we saw yesterday, that we can use inner HTML to change the children data. So I changed the name of something by I added that CR7 movie's name into it, right? So inner HTML, and these are all the properties on body, and it also has a property named style. So what is the style thing? Within style, it has all the and CSS properties, like whatever CSS properties are possible. And one of the CSS properties that I'm trying to access is background color. So using this, when I'm writing style.background color, that means what will it do? It will change the background color of our entire body. And that's why when I clicked on it, it changed to red. So when I clicked on it, it changed to red because the value of uh, it's not shown here. Let's console log this thing inside now. On clicking this happened, and let me show this. I will go to style. What is this? The style thing. Okay, oh, style is the entire thing. I'm sorry. Document body dot style. Say background color. See, document dot style dot background color. It is now red. So that means my DOM to its data. These are all present in the DOM. Every node has this particular style variable, and to this style, there's all these properties are present. So it is now red, and that's why the value changed, and that is how we are actually adding CSS dynamically. I could have done this as static as well, because but I wanted to show the JavaScript part. So this is all about understanding how we are supposed to access an element and then add a function to it. So let me remove this because I don't need this click button and all the unnecessary things. Let me remove it first. Now we are back to square one again, where we have this thing. Okay. Now the first thing that I will do here now is because I told you that I will need a grid kind of structure where I will have the images. There will be 12 images, 12 rectangular boxes. So what will I put here? I will use those images, these particular images. Now the thing is, my first thing. What do you think should be my first screen when I first open my page here? Should it be uh, these particular images in a tile first? Like all these images, as I told you, they will also be what will I say? Doubled as well, because everything will be duplicate. So there will be two things of the same type. So when I open it, should I have one of the cheeseburger, one of the fries, everything, all these, or should I have them hidden first? The thing is, I will first want them to be hidden. So that is why I have this blank thing. So on the first place, when we first open it, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since there are 6 images, and then 6 into 2, 12, there will be 12 boxes. And this, they will all be this blank image, not all these things. Because on opening, I won't want that it will be shown, it should be hidden first. So that means I need to have 12 boxes of blank.png first, and that one I will add it first here. That's why I have accessed this grid thing, and within this I will have that. So let's add it. What will I do? Uh, Instead of writing it directly, see what we could actually write that element, all that adding a image, all this directly here as well. But instead, I will first create a function, because always remember this. Try to break your program or break your code into modules. Modules as in these blocks, little blocks, because once you break them down, you can actually reuse them later. Like if I create this thing, create a grid, create grid, okay. Grid means that whatever images that I will add those images within this place. So I could, whatever code I put it here, I could have written it outside as well. But inside I will write it within this, because it's very important to create a modular structure. So that way, when I am supposed to call this create grid function, I can call it in some other place as well. And that makes my work easier. And it makes reusability very easy. The reason of using modularity is to increase the reusability and to easily read whatever problems are there. Like in the long run, when your code becomes bigger, you might come across some errors. So it makes it easier to break down our code and look at debug them easily. So what will I have here? Basically, uh, the first thing that we need to do is we need to have those 12 cards, right? So there will be 12 images. Now there is one simple problem here. Like I'm just giving here 12. I know that I have these 12 images. So there can be possibilities that you might need to want to tweak it. Like I have these images, you might also want other images. Like you want to add the number of cards in this and all, add the number of images. So instead of writing 12 directly, basically I need to create an image element first. The first thing is that blank.png, this blank.png, I need to have it 12 times. So as I told, I think if you remember this part, we talked about for loop. That is it. Compilation. Yeah. I told about this thing yesterday, right? Because I, instead of writing that blank image needs to be present 12 times. So that 12 times putting that image element is a repetition, right? So instead of writing the same thing again, I will write a for loop where it will let I equal to 1 and I less than 12 and I plus plus. So it will be a lot like for let I equal to 0 and I less than 12 and I plus plus. And within this, let me close this one now. Within this, I will have that image element, create image element with the src of blank. You will understand why src, because if we are supposed to write basically in HTML, if we are supposed to show an image element, what would we write? We would write this, and within that image, instead of writing this here, let me write it directly here. HTML. If I was supposed to use the HTML part, I'd write the image src equal to, what is it, in images. Now see, I have this autocomplete feature where I write image and then I src, and then whenever I give a semicolon, I get this, it get this path. If you don't get it, don't get very panicked, don't panic at all. Instead, you just write down whatever, as I told you the about relative path. So write relative paths, what is it, dot slash. Writing dot slash will, what will it do, it will take you to the outside whatever folders are present in the together. So within its vicinity, so it will first show the siblings. So when I write dot slash, I get all my siblings. So index.html, its parent is actually this memory game, this entire folder, but its siblings are this images, index.html, script.js, and that's why whenever I write dot slash, it gives these. Now I'm supposed to enter in this images folder, and within this blank.png, basically blank.png, right? This thing. I'm supposed to have this. So I will do just that, blank.png. On doing this, let's see what happens. See, I got one card here. There's one of the cards. But basically I need this 12 times because I know there are 6 cards and they will be double because I need to match them as well, right? So it will be 6 into 2, 12. So what would I need to do? I have to write this thing 12 times. It's the difficulty. This is because, and one of the differences problems here as well, because I might need to have, because I know there are 6 cards, I'm writing it 12 times. Now you, for if you want to add to this, you will again add one image and you will again write down 2 of them. So that makes the work a bit tougher and it makes it very clumsy. And also this is very wrong. So that is why I have now gone to the script file. In script file, I will create this image dynamically. So how will I create this image dynamically? Like this HTML tag, whatever I did this here, instead of writing it here, I need to, let me save it. I need to write this here. But will this work? Well, first of all, you need to understand one thing. Even if this would work, I wouldn't get any difference here. Because you know why? Because we saw this function create grid. Look at this. This create grid has just been declared. Understand the difference between declaring something and then calling something. When I have declared a function, doesn't mean this function will be executed. Declaring means only this function's definition has been written, but to execute it, we need to call it as well. We need to call this function. So calling means this. And that is why before you saw that this color was faded, and when I wrote this, it got, the color came back. So I'm calling create grid, and now this function will be executed. Basically the loop will run. But the problem is the image didn't come this time, because we expected, see, now this time it should have come, right? Because it was the HTML. In HTML, if we wrote it 12 times the same thing, it came, but in script it didn't come. So what's the problem here? That means to create an element in JavaScript, see, this was HTML, but I can't write this HTML thing in JavaScript. This is wrong. This is a tag, right? So writing tags, we don't write tags in a JavaScript file. It doesn't work. So what we need to do, we need to create this using JavaScript. So dynamically, we will create the image element. So we will look at this. How will we do this? Now always the first thing that we know is we will have access to the, how we always access the DOM using document. This document is always my entire DOM tree. Entire DOM tree means, because when we did the console log document, it gives the entire HTML part. So that means in here, what was my first work? I'm supposed to add an image element here somewhere. Basically, I'm supposed to add an image element here in within this div, right? So for that, first of all, I will create an image element. To create an image element, what will I do? I will write const, I will call it a card. Image, no, card. Okay. Document dot, now my DOM element document has a attribute called create element. Using create element, we can, what is the, let me write it down here as well. I'm giving comment. See, these are called comment lines. These comment lines are, as I told, it is not read by the JavaScript engine. It is for the user only. Using create element, we can create HTML. We can create nodes in the DOM tree dynamically. Using create element, we can create nodes in the DOM tree dynamically. Now create element, this thing again takes one thing, which is I need to write which type of element do I want. Now my elements can be of different, basically all the HTML tags. It can be a div, it can be an anchor tag, it can be a span tag, it can be an image tag. And in here I want an image because I am trying to access this thing. First this thing, just put it here. We are trying to access this. So when I wrote this thing, it will return only this part first. So this part is done. Now my second part, what is required now? To this image thing, I need to add some data, right? Like what will be the SRC of this? Like I just got the image tag. Now I need to add something like image SRC equal to whatever I wrote there, slash images slash blank dot png. This was what I wrote there. So I need to do this here as well. So how will I do that? There is another thing. Now I will add data to the, basically this thing SRC. There is an attribute of the, I told this before as well, this is an attribute of that HTML tag. There is an image tag, there is an HTML tag, and it will have different properties, and they're also known as attributes. So we will add an attribute to image. So I will write card dot set attribute. Now set attribute, what does it do? It takes two takes two parameters. The first one is the name of that attribute. So the name of my attribute is src. So I'm writing src, and the second attribute, what will it be? Here it will be the path of the file, basically the value of this. So I will write images slash blank dot png. I need to write the name perfectly right, else it will not work. It is blank dot png. Now what else do I need to do? Let's not get into anything else. We just read the SRC and all. Now we will, what until this, see, until now nothing is present here. So what does it mean? That I have just created an element. Basically, I've got this part right. I got this part right, but I haven't yet added this element to my DOM. So I have just created an element, but I have not added it to my DOM. So that is why it is not showing up. DOM as in that entire tree. So I need to add it to the DOM. Now, what can I do? To add an element to my DOM, we need to use something called dot append child. So if I write document dot append child, and then I write down, what should I write? This card thing. We are supposed to add this HC. When I put something here, it is saying const card HTML image element. So I will put this entire card here. Let's see what happens. Nothing's happening here. So what's wrong? Document dot body. That is working. Basically, what happened? Like I was adding the HTML. When I wrote this document, what is this document actually? It is actually the entire thing. So when I'm writing an image, I'm actually adding an HTML element outside the body. Like whatever data is present, right? Whatever we see, they're always inside body, right? But when I did that thing, when I wrote document.append child, actually what happened? I didn't add it to the body. It actually looked like this. It looked like this. So that means since it is not inside the body, it didn't show anywhere here. So instead of doing that, we will write document.body.append child. So I'm adding to the body. Now these are present. Now the problem is I don't want this, right? I wanted this thing in this place here. So this is wrong. So basically when I did this, what happened? All the HTML tags, all the image tags, they got added here. IMG. And this happened 12 times. I'm not writing that anymore. But I want to put them here. To do that, what will I do? Basically, I will add it to this div. And how will I add it to that div? I already have access to grid. And you asked a long time ago, one of you, that what is the need of this grid. So basically this class thing, this I access this particular grid, and to this I will add all my elements. So here I will write insert grid.append child. Now all these are present, and I don't need the cards are present thing, so I will remove this thing from the HTML part. If you want to keep it, then you need to add some styling as well. That's the difference. So I have all these cards. Now the thing is, this looks very different. Like I want to, even though I can have as many rows as I want, but having these 12 cards, I want them to have be seven. Matlab the number of rows up and down, they should be the same. I would like to do that. So what will I do? Instead, I will add some kind of, see, this one can't be done by JavaScript. It can be, but it needs to be done dynamically. So instead of doing everything dynamically, let's add some CSS directly. So what will I do? This div container, I will just add some styling to it. So to add some styling to this grid, what will I do? I will go to style.css, and since it is a class, to add some styling to class, we need to write dot. So dot grid. I will use flex box here, which is display flex. Using this styling, it is working correctly. So what I'm doing, I'm accessing, providing a width and a height. That if I so basically these images, they have a particular size. So all these images, they have a particular size, and on providing a width and height of this thing, they're taking it dynamically whatever height is needed. So once you change the number of cards, if it is more than that, so see, this will always be an even number because it will be duplicates. 14. In case of 14, again it is coming this way, so you need to change the height and width of this. Let me change it to 500. And you need to change the few height and width, and flex and flex wrap properties are there. If you want to go through flex and flex wrap and all those, you can go to CSS and read about flexbox. Like we cannot like change this entire thing to a CSS kind of tutorial. So instead, I am just having like whatever is needed for me. Let me add display flex and flex wrap. You can go through CSS by searching flexbox. And let me change it to, it was 14, right? It was 12 before, so there will be 12 cards. Another thing with this is Now, and also I will add whatever the CSS part, and I will also add the dynamic thing where you can add the more number of elements. Like instead of writing this 12 here, it should be the number of images that are present into 2. Okay. So instead of writing this 12, I will add a card array kind of thing. Okay. So what will I write? I will write const card array. Now what is this array thing? Arrays are used to store a variety of elements. So let me show. Mhm. Array is also like an object. I can say that array follows the same procedures as an object, because object is supposed to store variety of data in one, and array also does the same thing. But instead, in arrays we access the data differently, where we don't actually put in attributes and properties, but in objects we put properties. So in array, if I was supposed to have, let's say I'm buying a car. Someone has two cars. It's one is I-10, car 2, I-20. So if I'm supposed to have all these cards, like someone has these cards with himself, these three cards. So that means all these different cards, they are in separate variables. So basically, I want to say that this Sanjay has three cards, and those cards, to access them, I have to write again let card 1, card 2, card 3. Instead of doing that, wouldn't it look better if I put all the number of cards, all these three cards, in one variable itself? So let's cards equal to I-10, I-20, and 1. And here the problem is I am not trying to use an object, because all of them are the same type. In case of objects, what was the difference? In object, I had user details, and in that there were different types of data like username, age. All these are different kinds of data. But in this, these are all similar kind of data. They are all cards. So I don't need to use an object here. Instead, I want to do something else. I don't want to use an object because using those properties makes no sense. So instead of that, I am using an array which is cards and started by third brackets. In this, I will put the elements together. So instead of, we could have thought of something like this, like all of the elements are there. So I will put them comma, then I-20 like this. But this is wrong because I can't do this. After equal to, what will be given here? It is giving an unexpected string. Because once it sees a comma, it thinks that there should be some other variable again. So instead of doing that, we will start with the third bracket, and within this we will put the data separated by commas. So now I have all the elements in a singular array. So that is why I should use an array to store similar type of data. And I will be doing the same thing here as well. In this, I will have similar type of data in the sense that what will I have? Basically, I have all these images, right? So these images, I will provide them a name and that path, and I will loop over them. Basically, the reason for adding that is because the next time if you are supposed to add one more element, another image to this array, basically I have 12. You can add another image and increase the difficulty level. You can try to increase the difficulty level of a game, right? By increasing the number of cards. The more the cards, the difficult the memory game becomes. So instead, I will what we will do the next time, we will just add that card array element here. So what will I do? I will add now you will see I am add what will I say this? I am mixing the both. Within an array, now I will have 12 separate objects. Within an array, I will have 12 objects. They are all the same of the same type. They are all cards, and they will be all objects. So here I will add name and the path of that file. So basically cheeseburger, fries, hot dog, ice cream, milkshake, and pizza. So for, let me write this down. This will be a little tiresome. Cheeseburger and its image path. will be images slash is. Similarly, name will be files. This will be images slash files. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cheeseburger, fries, hot dog, ice cream, milkshake, pizza. And this will be double of this, right? So there will be 12 of them. So I will just copy all of them and again there are 12 such elements. And now I will loop over this particular card array. Let me decrease the size. So this is the entire card array. I will loop over the length of this card array instead of writing 12 directly. So next time when you are trying to add one more image, you will simply add the image name and the image twice here. You need to add it twice because it's supposed to have a duplicate as well. So I will add it here. So I will simply do now to get the length of an array. Basically, I need to loop this how many times, given on how many elements are there in this array. So to get the number of elements in an array, you will simply write the name of that array first, card array, and then followed by dot length. So this card array dot length. Now this will make our work easier because now we can increase the number of images and it will show the same number of blank images. That's all. So these are 12 of the images. However, the thing is my work is just half done. There are a lot of things that are left here. So first of all, we will try to achieve which functionality. Basically, what do I want to have here? I just want to click on my simple functionality here will be clicking on an image first. When I click on this image, it should change to whatever the image is actually hidden behind this. Basically, these are all 12 images. Right now, they are all the same, but for to the end user, whoever is supposed to play the game, clicking on that image will show one of the images, right? Now, how will I do that? Basically, we will add a click functionality now. If you understood that clicking on this thing is coming now, and that is why I showed that button part where how did I do the clicking thing? I used an add event listener. So what will I do? Let me remove this thing. Before, basically, where were we setting those attributes? So in within this, I set attribute of src and all those. Now what will I do? I will add an event listener to this. But basically, what is this card? Card is an image, each of the images. So each of them we will have a functionality of click. So I will write add event listener click. And to this, we will what we did there, we added a function. Instead of writing the function here directly, we will write the name of the function here. So flip. Flip is the name of my function. Now on flip, what am I going to do now? So basically, I wrote flip. Let me write the function name here at least. That function flip, and let's check whether this function is getting called at least. To check that, I am simply going to write console log card flip. We go to inspect mode, console. You click on a card flip, card flip. It's any card we are clicking, it's card flipped. Now we need to actually change the image, right? Like whichever card I am clicking, it should change the image and it should push a particular card. Basically, on clicking one of the images, one of the cards will come, then the other one will come. How will I do that? Okay, first of all, hmm, let's do one thing here. I think one of the things is missing. Okay. Give me a minute. Let me think about this a little. Set attribute. Factor. Let me write this down and let us explain about this. Basically, what do we need to do here is we need to now select whichever element we are choosing. Okay. Now we need to check that we need to check both of them, right? We will push one of the cards into this. So I will add a thing called, let us have two things here. So, there is card, yes, chosen card ID. Basically, I will maintain this thing right now where I will maintain an array, and on clicking on that, clicking on one of the cards, I will add that card to that particular card array. The reason of doing this is once we are choosing a card, right? So on choosing that card, we need to click on it and save it somewhere, because later on, once we have chosen one of the cards, we'll have to, and the next time we are choosing another card, we have to check that card with the previous one. Because at a time, in any memory game, what is the basic thing? The basic thing is I will click on this card. This will flip to a particular element, particular image, and then I click on another one. It will also flip, and the functionality here is it will check the earlier chosen card and this particular chosen card. It will check the two. It will check whether both are same. If it is the same, they will remove it from this grid, and else if it is not the same, they will again flip back. So this is the main idea. That means we need to maintain an array as well, that which of the cards has been chosen. Which card has been chosen, we need to maintain this. So that is why I am using this thing where I am using two arrays. One is chosen card and one is chosen card ID. So chosen Here, let's do one thing. Let's push to the chosen card. Uh, push. I'm telling you about this push thing by write first after writing this term first. What area? Card ID. To push. Mhm. Push card ID. Set attribute. That's it. This thing. Chosen card ID that push card ID into card ID to it. Should be working. Let's see. Something's wrong here. Okay, I wrote the names wrong. Wait a minute. Forgot to add these things. That's why no image got added. Basically, I wrote the name of the file wrong, and that's why it gave a wrong image. It basically nothing came, and that's why it showed this. Okay, so this is how we are doing this part, where we are clicking on an image, and then we're just adding to it. First part, what will we do? We'll first add this thing. So basically, I'm adding this get attribute thing, and then adding to it. So in this case, get attribute means the data ID. I'm taking a attribute called data ID and putting it and giving a particular variable, whatever I want. And then on clicking something, I'm just getting this thing. So only until this part, we will like we since this thing is or there are a lot of things about get attribute and set attribute and all these stuffs here. We should go a little slow here, where we are doing the flipping thing. So simply what did I do here? I added this flip function. To flip function, when I am clicking on any image, what is it doing? I've set a data ID property of this, and in here when I'm trying to get the data, it is taking that and to the chosen card array. If I do the console log here, I will show the logging thing here. Log chosen card ID and chosen card. These are two of the things. The console log here. And if I click on this, you'll see it will giving what one of the IDs is 1, and it is always returning the fries thing. So the next time also fries is getting added here. This is the thing where I'm setting an attribute to this particular element. When in place of that, I'm setting the attribute of. So I'm basically taking up this image element where it was already a blank one. Okay. And to the blank image element, I'm simply changing the attribute. So get attribute, I took data ID to save that ID of that particular thing. And in set attribute, what did I do? In place of that blank image, I replace that attribute where it was not first images slash blank dot png. I change it to images slash fries dot png. So using set attribute, simply the reason for doing this is because I want to replace this part first, right? So that is the thing that I'm doing here. I'm replacing that part by changing the data here. This is the idea between of doing this thing. So like let's keep this thought on hold for a minute, and so we can continue for some more time. Okay, let's take a 5 minute break and let's come back to this. Okay, so let's get back to where we stopped. So what did we see here? The thing is, really, yeah, right. We clicked on a card, and it kept on giving this particular attribute, which is this thing. The problem is basically uh, basically this is where we are using this data ID thing. In data ID, this is one of the attributes. I'm setting an attribute. It is giving the value of 1. And when I go to flip, basically I am first accessing a card ID. Uh, on clicking this add event listener, it has the particular card ID of 1, because every time card ID will return 1, because the data attribute every time for every image. Right now in this place, for every image that I have added, it has a card ID of 1. So this thing has a 1, 1, 1, 1, all these things. So instead of putting this as 1, change this to I. Okay. So the thing here is I showed 1 and then I now, so that we can understand how this actually setting of thing is working. So when I'm setting this as 1, I basically for the first element, it has an ID of 0. Then it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever until 11. So each of these we are supposed to have particular data IDs. Like the reason of using data IDs is so that we can make changes according to our needs. I hope I am unmuted. Unmuted. Basically now what the changes will happen is we will have this console log, card flipped, or whatever it is, whatever. For this particular one, when we clicked on this one, this 1, 2, 3, 4. So its data ID is, if you can see, it's 3. Why is it 3? Because my array, I am giving the I, it always starts, everything, the index always starts from 0. So that's why it is 0, 1, 2, and then 3. And for 3, basically the need for this is when we are for this particular card, when we are clicking on this card, this flip function is getting called, and I'm trying to just get the value of this data ID. So my card element after this line, it actually looks like this image has this src of that blank thing, blank.png, and it has a data ID which is for different images different. So for this particular thing, its data ID is number 3, is 3. Now when I'm doing get attribute, on clicking of, now for this clicking of this function, I'm doing this dot get attribute data ID. So what does this get attribute does? It returns the value of that thing. So if I did get attribute of src, if I wrote here src, it would return me the value of this blank.png. But I need to actually get this ID, then which one is getting added. The reason being, in this place I will add a particular which one I want to change to. So because the thing is, I will want to have separate ones, right? Like last time it was giving all price because it was always 1. And the reason is how it is getting added here. See, now here it is 3. And for 3, what is it doing? It is first, this choosing thing is for actually, the reason for this is for checking the matching. For the time being, let's put it on hold here like this. In here I'm doing set attribute src for this particular, like since it is using here it is using this. What does this do? The reason of using this is, this refers to the particular image here. So for this number 3 part here, it refers to this particular image, and that is why the need for this is done, because on this dot get attribute I am getting this data ID 3, and for only this one I want to change the src of this one. Like, let me refresh. Right now it is this dot data attribute of 3, and for this one I want to change the attribute, because I don't want that clicking on this one will change the color card, flip the card of this one. I can actually do this here, because if I write, since it is 3 here, and if I do something like, no, it will not work here. I want to set the attribute of this part only. So on this dot set attribute src, I am changing the card. I am giving it a set attribute means I am changing the attribute. Earlier it was blank. Now I am changing it to card array of 3 dot image. Now card array of 3. What does card array of 3 return? It goes to this one. And since card array of 3 means 0, 1. Before that, let me do the console log thing. It will be much better. Log. When I do card array of 1, card array of 3, what do they return? Card array of 1 is price, card array of 3 is this ice cream thing. So card array of 1 is price. This means which element? Card array means to access the element of an array, we can use the indices. So when I had written let cards, see this is already present, this thing. When I had this thing, to access this particular value, I would have to write cards of not 2 but 1. If I write cards of, wait, oh sorry, why did I write cards? It's cards. Cards of 1. Why is it giving identity? Because it's not giving I10. So that means the index, as I told you, everything for the array as well, the index starts from 0. So when I'm writing cards of 0, it is giving me the first one. The similar thing is happening here when I'm writing cards of, well, since I'm setting the attribute of that particular blank image to the number 3 1. So if you check number 0, when I'm writing 3, that means 0, 1, 2, and then 3. It is pushing this attribute. So that means I'm giving card array dot image of 3. So that means this ice cream part is coming. Now for 3, this is giving this one. Now the thing is, in this part, what do you think which one will be done here? It is very easily understandable because that means I will need to find the index of this one, and actually that index is being used to set the attribute. So the index of this is actually 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So as expected, this should give the 9 means the 10th element of the array. So let me see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It should give ice cream back. So if I give, it is giving ice cream. See the 9th element. And if, as you can see, if I was doing the correct memory game, if it is correctly done, it should give an alert of it is matched, and these images should have moved away. And if it didn't match, it would have flipped. So if it is an ice cream, and if I click on this, these two didn't match, then it should have flipped back to the earlier part. So this is a functionality that we will be doing the next day. They will be completing the memory game tomorrow completely, and we will be adding these things where we will be matching them. Basically, on clicking this one came, and on clicking this, when the other one comes, we will match the two, and we'll show that particular data, like what should be present there and everything. And you see, what else can we do here? No, rather, let me put it to until this part. After that, we will again continue with the next ones. And I would like to like add another thing here. I will do it right now. See, because every time I am clicking, like restarting my game, you will say I always know from beforehand at least I know this thing is here. I know ice cream is in the third index. I know this thing is here. Like, it will be easy to understand if someone clicks on this, he knows the burger is at the first. Again, he refreshes and again clicks here, again burger is at the first. So this is something that is wrong, because memory game means it should actually keep changing randomly. It should always never be like it is this one is here, so this card will be here only. On the next load, it should always change, right? So that is where we can do one more thing, and that is the sorting thing. We will randomly sort our array. So let me write down the function first, and then I will let you know what it actually does. So card array for sort. What does this do? Basically, sorting means we are able, if you check the array sorting things, let us see. Let A be equal to 1, 1, 2, 5, 1, 3. If I do AB dot sort, it is giving 1, 2, 3, 5. It is sorting in ascending order. Now, if I do AB dot sort and I do A, B, look at this thing. What did I actually do here? So basically, normal dot sort means it is always sorting in the in for JavaScript. Is I'm talking about JavaScript. When we write just AB dot sort, it means it just does the sorting in this manner. So it is the ascending order, and I can write the same thing in this fashion as well, where it does what does it do? Basically, it does that. It does uses a comparison function. I will zoom this. This does a comparison function where what does it do? It checks the A and B, means it takes the first and the second element, then the second and the third element. Basically, for the first loop, it is 1 and 2. Second loop, sorry, I'm talking about AB, 1 and 2, then 2 and 5, then 5 and 3. Like that, they come as A and B. And when I write return A minus B, that means it is asking to sort in the ascending order. So basically, if 1 minus 2, if it is a negative thing, then it will return the correct one. So basically, 1 will be before. But if I want to do the descending order, then I am doing B minus A. So B minus A means it is checking the, if it is giving a positive value, then it is then it understands that now I have to do it in the descending way. So I need to swap it. So the behind the scenes function of this, if it returns a negative value, then it will swap it, and if it returns a positive value, it will not swap it, like that. So that is the thing behind this. So when I'm doing this B minus A minus B, where to do the descending one, it is doing B minus A, but for ascending one, I'm doing A minus B. Or if I want, I will not write anything at all. It will still use the ascending order. Now, what I want, I don't want to have any ascending or descending order. I want it to be completely random. So what will I rather do? AB dot sort function return let's look at this. Whatever I wrote, I'm coming back to this now. Let's wait for a bit. So this is 3512. Okay. Now I am again doing this. Now it is 2153. Now what is this actually that I'm trying to do? If I see math.random, it is returning this value. I'm doing math.random, this value. And as the name suggests, you might have understood that math.random returns us a random value every time. Now this random value is always between 0 and 1. So from 0, 0, between 0 and 1, any value, it always returns a decimal kind of thing. So that means when I'm doing AB dot sort, the first time for the first loop, for example, it has taken what was my earlier one, 1 and 2. Now when it has taken 1 and 2, now it will check return 0.5 minus math.random. Now this math.random, what does it, as I told you, if it is returning a negative value, it will not swap. If it is a positive value, it will swap it. It will go before and after. So if I'm thinking about in this way, so when it is 1 and 2, for the first time, for the first run, it is 0.5 minus any particular value. So for example, think that it came as a, it came something that was greater than 0.5. So that means it would swap it. And if it, for the next loop, for example, now this time it came a positive value, so it doesn't swap. So basically this alternating thing is happening. So that is why it is giving a random sorting kind of thing. So every time it is giving a different kind of sorting. and that is the reason we need it here, because this kind of structure should look wrong to you. I will write a better one. Which one? Now you see, I'm clicking on the same place. So basically what is happening when I'm doing card array or sort this thing, so it is completely hodgepodging this entire place. So the first index is, for example, in one place, the first one is now ice cream, but normally in my sorted place, in the card array that I defined, it was actually cheeseburger. That means when I'm doing card array dot sort, it is behind the scenes, what is it doing? It is changing the arrangement of this array. So I needed to do this thing because I had to change the arrangement of my array, because I don't want it to be the same every time. Else anybody would remember it and get the correct value. So every time it is coming a different value. Now if I click on this, now it is fries. The next time when I click on this is one of the ways. Like random is okay, like the everything, the array is completely changing. So it might be possible that at some time it has again come back to the same. So that means I can rather click on a few more. Let me take two. And here now this one has become this one has now become an ice cream. So at times it might come the same, because random is, I am doing a random thing, but actually the number of elements are the same, right? It is a small value sample of elements. So at times it might be the same. So that is a little, this is a little thing that might happen here, but both of them will not be at the same place, that can be guaranteed. And now the thing is, the problem is, see, I can now select more than one element and they're all staying. So our work next day will be to, when the next one card has been chosen and the next card is chosen, when there are two cards, it will first check, and if it is successful it goes away, and if it is not successful we will remove it. We will again give it, flip it back to the blank part. And this game can be actually done in I can add random things as well. We'll try to do that as well, where we will actually, we can have three elements as well. Like here there are duplicates of two, I can have three as well, like three of them will be the same. This is the difficulty level. For increasing the difficulty level, you can do a lot of different things. My difficulty level can be like, there are three elements and if they are chosen correctly, only then they will go away. So if two are chosen, basically at that time what we'll do, we will check the match after three elements. So we will do this thing, this checking thing we will do tomorrow, and try to change the difficulty level of this game. We'll try to do that. So right now this is, we can stop at this thing basically. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me push this thing to GitHub and give you guys the link. My GitHub is, I will send you the entire thing. Let me create one. See, later, let me talk about GitHub a little bit here then. So on GitHub, you will create your own account if you don't have one. And for creating a repository, you saw that I clicked on new and added a name. Now, since, see, often people do two things. One can be that they completely start from scratch, where they first create the GitHub repository and then they start writing the code. And but in my case, what did I do? I actually wrote my code first, and then I will try to add a Git repository to it. So that's why there is this create new repository or push an existing repository. So I will be pushing an existing one. So I will do this. I will go to my command line, and whatever is written here, I will do all those. Add this. Let's say git remote add origin, not a git repository. Let me see what went wrong here. Is this not present? Reload again. Give me a minute, guys. Right, this not work here. It should have worked on the command line at least. Uh, anyway, let's do this thing then. Git init, let me do that. Initialize. Okay, so basically this is not initialized. Sorry. So basically, like, this was a completely new one. Oh, actually, this was actually a new one, right? My bad. I thought that I already had this thing beforehand. Git was okay, actually the Git thing wasn't initialized. So basically, this is a completely new repository here. So in here, what will we do? Now in here, you can see the different changes. What is this index HTML, JS, and all this? Uh, Let me change whatever was not needed until now. This wasn't used, so let me remove this. In this way, actually, you can check that whatever things you want, what are to be committed and all those. So what happens when I do git init, where a git repository is added, and now to this place we will add. Now to this we will actually add all the changes. So my first thing is supposed to be if you use VS Code, it is fine. You will go here and click on this, and here click on add. And if you don't use VS Code and it is the git is not completely there, and if you want to do from the terminal, you can simply do git. Let me clear this. You can simply do git add dot, and after that always check git status. Git add dot, what did git add dot do? Git add means to add files, and when I am putting dot, that means I'm telling that put all the files that has been changed. So that means I'm adding all the files that has been changed. And if you want to do one a single file, you will write the git add and then the path of that file. This is the difference. And after that, when you click on git status, when you write down git status, it shows that what is to be done. So it is saying on we are on branch master. So it is actually a branch kind of thing. So we already do branching here. Basically, we can add more code here and it gets added to the branch. And the main tree is actually my memory game repository. To that tree, we are adding branches, and we can call the master as the bark of the tree. That is a main branch. So to that we are adding data. Right now we haven't still committed the data. So the first thing is you have to do git add dot. After that you need to commit the data. Like what message do you want? Like whatever. Some, for example, I created the layout, and what else do I do? Created the layout and added uh, clipping functionality. So this can be the message of this thing. So this is the message with which I want to add it. So we need to provide different messages so that we can understand that at which part, which work did we do. So I'm doing git commit, and after that I'm doing, I will again check git status. It says on branch of master, nothing to commit, but after committing I need to push that data as well, because it is still not present in GitHub right now. I have to push it. So I am doing git push origin master. Go through this video again to check this. Wait a minute, what happened? Memory game repository fatal origin doesn't repeat to. Okay, we need to add this thing as well. We didn't add the git remote add origin. Remote add origin. Now we need to git push origin master. You can always take it here. So what happened? I needed to add a origin as well. The one that was I been doing before, I forgot to do that one. So now it is pushed to master, and now if you check, so all this data is here. You will get to the images here as well. And let me provide you with the link until how much it has been done. Let me see, can I provide it here this way? Oh, I can wait. Go to YouTube. To YouTube. So I am adding the link here. You can take it from here. So you can use this as well now. So let's end it here for now for today. We will again continue with the rest of the part where we will check for the matching and finally complete the game and try to increase the difficulty level a bit. So let's end it for today. Try cloning this repository, and if you are not able to like start with GitHub, if you don't have GitHub, I will provide you with a particular link. Let me see if I have it here. So this is one of the Medium articles that I had seen beforehand once. This is an article. If you want to go through this, go to it. Thank you. Let's again meet tomorrow. Chalo.